We lost $4.5 million last year. One of our pylons caught on fire and half our building burnt down, and there goes $4.5 million. But we're still here. We walk around and we take a leaf, and then we smoke the fuma, and then we allow the tobacco to tell us if it's ready. There's a very quick growth in what they call the New World cigars, which is the Dominican, Nicaraguan, Honduran, because we're catching up. We're making great cigars. The draw is phenomenal. The burn is razor sharp, and the flavors are remarkable. You know how to make $1 million in the tobacco industry? You start with 2. Because the first million you're going to lose and you're going to spend it. So that's how you make $1 million in the tobacco industry. So yeah, so the key ingredient that everyone else uses.
OPERA Cigars.
Hello everybody, my name is Peter Fuzzi and this is OPERA CIGARS Podcast today. And I'm actually under a very big pressure because today I'm sitting with someone who basically founded the Cigar Podcast. So let me introduce you Fabien Ziegler, who is our guest today. And I'm very honored that I can see you here and you finally could make it to Budapest. Could you say a couple of words about yourself and can you introduce you?
Yes, hello. My name is Fabien Ziegler, and I work for AGANORSA LEAF Tobacco. AGANORSA is the largest grower of tobacco in Nicaragua. In the whole industry, we're number 2, Plasencia being number 1. But since today we're only talking about Nicaragua, we're number 1 in Nicaragua, so we're on the top. Okay, all right. A little bit about myself. I've been in the tobacco industry for 25 years. I worked in a very small company at first, before AGANORSA, called Drew Estate, and I helped them climb to the majestic peak, to the top, and where they are right now, and left. And then now, COVID happened, so the whole world slowed down for a year and a half, and now I find myself in AGANORSA, which is also at the pinnacle of where they are, being the biggest grower of tobacco. And now we're making cigars, we're selling tobacco, and we're launching cigars all over international, Hungary being one of the countries. Peter, thank you very much for inviting me. And I mean, so far, so good. Amazing. Anyone have any place to rent? I'm looking to rent in Hungary somewhere. This is beautiful, and I can't wait to come back already. And I haven't left. So thank you.
I'm very happy to hear about that. Yesterday we had an event at a majestic place, one of the best views of Budapest. What do you think about it? How did you like the Hungarian cigar scene, the Hungarian cigar community so far?
Listen, I've been doing events for 25 years, and I lost track of how many cigar dinners or events I've done. And I can honestly tell you that the cigar dinner we did last night with AGANORSA at that beautiful restaurant on top of the hill and on the Buda side, watching Pest, all lighting up at night, was probably, if not the best, one of the top 3 events I've ever done in 25 years. So congratulations to you and your people in the restaurant. The Hungarian cigar crowd is very, very nice. They're eager to learn. They appreciate good cigars, and they appreciate good cigars for good prices. And that's what AGANORSA offers. So it was good.
You don't have to say so many nice things about Hungary. I would order AGANORSA cigars anyway to distribute. So it's not about that. But I'm very happy that you enjoyed your first time in Hungary, and we still have 2 days left in here.
Yes.
There's a lot of things have been happening, and I'm very glad that 2 years ago I decided to get in touch with your brand, because actually, I didn't know that much about AGANORSA, but I knew and I heard that you started working there. And I had a feeling that what you could achieve with your previous company in terms of making a cigar brand very big in the US, one of the number ones probably, maybe you will be able to achieve the same thing with this brand also. And for us, we have so many very classic and very big cigar brands in Europe, but most of them are pretty much classical. And for us, I think we can develop and we can make great things in Hungary if we think about the future of the European cigar market. And it's not about classic cigars, because people don't want to smoke cigars what their grandfather smoked before, and we've been talking about this in our previous podcast, and I would like to hear your opinion about this.
Yes, that is the goal. The goal is to help AGANORSA grow and become, if not number one, close to number one as possible. For us, it's going to be a little easier than other manufacturers because we're fully vertical and we have a lot of tobacco. So other manufacturers who don't have any farms, every year they have to buy tobacco that they can use the following year or 2 years from now. For us, we have plenty of tobacco. For instance, we grow about 175,000 to 200,000 pounds a year. About 70% of that we sell. We use about 25% currently, and the rest we save for aging purposes, for on a rainy day or whatever. So we always have little stockpiles all over the place. I would be very happy that 10 years from now, we sell 30% and we use 70%, meaning we're selling a lot more cigars and we're selling less tobacco. Ultimately, AGANORSA, the company, makes a lot more money when they sell a cigar rather than they sell tobacco. But as the company is set up right now, we make a lot more money selling tobacco because we sell a lot more tobacco than cigars. So we have the capability of growing, and the other thing is there are no middlemen. So there's no extra percentage in. So our prices are the really, really good prices compared to other companies, because other companies, they have middle people. So we sell ourselves the cigars, and then we sell ourselves the tobacco, and then we make the cigars, and then we sell the cigars. So it's very, very good. Now, Peter, one thing I got to tell you is Hungary was one of the first 4 or 5 countries internationally to get AGANORSA cigars. AGANORSA has been selling cigars since 2005. AGANORSA has been growing tobacco since 1996. But internationally, the very first time we launched was in September at Intertabac 2023. So there was only about 4 or 5 countries back then, and you are one of them. So thank you for keeping your eyes out for new companies. And I say that in quotation marks because we're like the smallest, biggest company no one has ever heard of. But yes, we look forward to growing together. And I mean, so far so good. Everyone I've spoken to really enjoy the cigars we've been passing out. So
yeah. And I love the way how you are expanding, because all the other cigar brands are kind of, even the smaller ones and the larger ones too, they chasing the European countries because they want to make their cigars to be introduced in so many countries at the same time. And what you told me kind of amazed me, that for this year, for example, you want to have 2 more countries on your European cigar map. And I think it's such a unique thing that you don't want everybody at the same time, and you want to keep it slow, because the slower you can keep it, the better you can build up every new European country that you will introduce AGANORSA LEAF in.
Yeah, it does not do me and it does not do you any good if I sell you a whole bunch of cigars, you sell out, and then you have to wait 8-9 months till you get the next batch. That means that 8-9 months from now, you have to start again trying to resell.
Yeah.
What makes sense is always having a little back stock. So we have some of the products when you place a reorder, so that way the pipeline is always full, and the out of stocks are not as long. Maybe a couple weeks because of shipping or regulations, or they have to put the beautiful stickers on the Hungarian cello here in the humidors. They have to put all the warning labels and all that, but that was very conscious. And I spoke to Eduardo Fernandez, who is the owner of AGANORSA, that we're going to grow, but this is a 1-year plan. It's a 5-year plan. And right now, I mean, in the first year and a half, we've already surpassed what we wanted to achieve in 2.5 years. So we're growing, but where it's a very planned growth. And that I believe is the right way to go, because we want people to try an AGANORSA cigar. And then if they like it, and hopefully they will, they can go back, and that AGANORSA cigar is going to be on the shelf all the time. So that's what we strive for.
Yeah, and it's a much better method, because what really happens in most of the smaller European countries, probably especially, that they place an order for like $20,000. And after they realize that it's not selling that good, the manufacturers keep pushing for new orders, but they cannot place new orders because they haven't sold the first one too, and it's making a kind of negative vibe about this connection, and you shouldn't push, and a distributor should only introduce a new brand if they are not a brand collectors and they know for sure that they will be able to take care of that brand properly and put enough focus on distributing that.
I've told you this a couple times already in the couple of days we've been together. You're not my distributor. You're my partner. And I truly believe that. We truly believe that. I'm not here to tell you I know more about the Hungarian market than you do. You know everything about the Hungarian. You've been in the industry for many, many years, a decade plus. So you know what you're doing. I'm just here to help you sell AGANORSA into Hungary. And that's the way we look at it. Other manufacturers, when they try to make the big splash all over the place, it's because they have to buy the tobacco, and they spent all their money, and then they rush the tobacco through, they make the cigars, and to get their money back, they have to sell the cigars. So they don't really want to have backstock, right? Because backstock is cash flow stop. Us, since we have plenty of tobacco everywhere, we roll cigars all the time. We don't necessarily have a cash flow stop or a cash flow problem, because at any given time there's cash flow coming in, whether people are buying cigars or they're buying tobacco before or after fermentation. So it's a slower process, but we also like to tell people that we're tobacco whisperers. We let the tobacco talk to us, right? So we're in the factory and we look at these big piles of cigars, of tobacco called pilones, and that's where the tobacco is fermented. And we walk around, and I want to tell you, we have not hundreds, we have thousands. You've been down there, you probably saw half of them or whatever. All the rooms, they have other rooms right next to it, and right behind those rooms are more rooms, and then there's one more room behind that. So it could take you a long time to go visit. But we walk around and we take a leaf, and then we make it into a little fuma, which, you know, we'll talk about fumas a little bit later on, hopefully. But we smoke the fuma, and then we allow the tobacco to tell us if it's ready. We never go in front of the big pile of tobacco and go, Mr. Tobacco, you better be ready next week, because I got to use you to roll cigars. I need to get money. I need to sell cigars. You better be ready. We're just like, oh, Mr. Tobacco, how are you today? How are things? Are you ready? Oh, no, you need a couple more weeks? Okay, all right, well, enjoy. Okay, I see you in a month. That we let the tobacco talk to us, and you know, the flavor shows in our cigars. Very flavorful cigar. It is Nicaraguan, so you gotta like earthy. You gotta like a little bit of spice. If you don't like that, then AGANORSA or Nicaraguan tobacco isn't necessarily for you. But U.S., Nicaragua is the number one country. Internationally, yes, okay, it's the Cubans, but because the Cubans have been around for 400 years, Nicaragua's only been around for 60 years. But there's a very quick growth in what they call the New World cigars, which is the Dominican, Nicaraguan, Honduran, because we're catching up. We're making great cigars. The draw is phenomenal. The burn is razor sharp, and the flavors are remarkable.
And the tobacco is very grateful to you that there's no rush in the
exactly
fermentation process. So that's why it delivers such a wide range of flavors when smoking it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a unique process. Actually, it's done only by you.
Yes. So we're actually smoking a cigar called the Arsenio. And if you're watching this in the U.S., it's not Arsenio Hall. That's not Arsenio Hall. It's Arsenio Ramos. Okay, you know a big monument in the United States called Mount Rushmore. It has like 4 presidents' faces in the mountains. It's carved. They say it's the best 4 presidents in the United States. Some people can argue whatever, but it's beautiful. If there was a Mount Rushmore of tobacco people in the last 100 years, I believe there would be a picture of Arsenio Ramos on there. Now, why do I say that? Okay. Arsenio Ramos worked in the tobacco industry for 65 years. Okay. Cuban. He worked for the first 42 years of his life. He worked for Habanos. He was not only in the fields growing, but he was a savant when it came to fermentation, and he also blended cigars. And he liked to smoke cigars, and he blended his own cigar, and he smoked a cigar and whatnot. Now, in Cuba, if you're not part of the party and you turn 60 years old, it's kind of forced retirement. So Arsenio turns 60. And Eduardo Fernandez, he's Cuban, born in Cuba and lived in the U.S. and now he lives in Nicaragua, calls Arsenio on his birthday. He goes, "Arsenio, happy birthday. Are you ready for retirement?" And Arsenio's like, "I wish I could still work. I still want to work. I like what I'm doing." And then that was like music to Eduardo's ears. He's like, "Arsenio, why don't you come to the factory in Nicaragua and you show us and all the Nicaraguans what you've been doing and show us how to do it." 2 weeks later, he comes, and now he's working in our factory. And of course, he blends his own little cigar, and he's all smoking a cigar. And he shows us how the Cubans, for 300 and some years, have been growing tobacco, how they get beautiful tobacco. And he shows us how the Cubans have been fermenting their tobaccos. And then he also blends. Okay, now I say the Cubans used to do things perfectly for 350 years until the last 25 years when they messed things up. When they try to speed things up, the need for Cuban cigars is going. Maybe there's other leaves in your Cuban cigars. That's a topic for another show. But we really, really learned the old ways of the Cubans. Some of the top people in our factory in management are Cubans. We have one guy, Chandito, who's 84 years old. He's been in the tobacco industry since he was 16. He knows a few things about tobacco. His dad was in tobacco. His grandfather was in the tobacco. So there's close to like 250 years of tobacco knowledge that's just passed down in one guy. Then we have Jacinto. I think you met Jacinto. Yeah. Jacinto is in charge of all our production in Esteli. Chandito is our production in Jalapa. Jacinto is in his early 60s. And again, he's been in the tobacco industry since he was like 18, 19. So that's another 40 years. And his dad was in the tobacco industry. Then we have another guy, Oladio. Oladio is like, he looks like he's in his 70s. He won't tell anyone how old he is. Maybe he's 92. Maybe he's 57 and just smokes a lot of cigars. But I think he's in his 70s. and he started as one of the little kids planting tobacco in the fields. So he's been at least 40, 50, maybe even 60 years in the tobacco. So we have a lot of knowledge of how the Cubans used to do it. Now, why did I tell you this? Because of what you just said. When we ferment our tobacco unlike anybody else, including the Cubans. The Cubans used to do it our way, but they changed it. The key ingredient that everyone else uses is water. But the old school Cubans truly believe that water is the enemy of tobacco. You're like, whoa, really? Water is the enemy. True, the tobacco plant needs a lot of sun, needs a lot of water to grow. But once you take the leaves off, water is really the enemy of the leaf. The best friend of tobacco at that time is time. And that's what we keep giving, time. So imagine I have a magical school bus. We go into my magical school bus and I take you to any factory that you want to go, whether it's in Cuba, Dominican, Nicaragua, Honduras. You pick a factory, we go there. You see these beautiful pilones, and a pilone is pretty much the size of an average car, right? It's about 10,000 pounds. and it's made out of bunches of leaves, and each bunch of leaf has 50 leaves in it. And it's they build it all the way there, and then they put a little covering over it, and then there's a thermometer right down the middle, and each polon has a chart. And over time, they always check the temperature in the center of the polon because of the pressure of all the tobacco, because of the moisture in the air, the moisture in the leaves, it starts to heat up. And this is the fermentation. This is where the leaves, who are green and then they're air cured to golden brown, then they become darker in fermentation. And that's also where it burns off all the ammonia-like flavors, all the imperfections get burnt off. All right. In that factory, on that chart, you will see that polon, it will end up usually going to about 100, this is Fahrenheit, 125 to 135 degrees. And right when it gets to that point, this is very, very serious. You have 48 hours to break down the polon and start it all over again. Because if you keep it too long, it's going to start going higher, and it could start firing, and then it starts burning. We lost $4.5 million last year. One of our polons caught on fire, and half our building burnt down, and there goes $4.5 million. Most companies would go bankrupt because they lose all that tobacco. For us, it was only $4.5 million. We have plenty of tobacco, this and that. So we weren't able to sell that tobacco. It wasn't tobacco we were using. It was tobacco we were planning on selling. So, it's a big hit, but we're still here. All right. While they're taking these bunches of leaves from one polon and reconstructing it to the next polon, they're either spraying water down on the leaf and then shaking it, or they're dipping the bunches of leaves in buckets of water, and then they wring it, and then they build the polon right next door. And then once they do it all, then they put the little covering again, and then 4 to 6 weeks later, the temperature will go back up, and then they have to do it again. Then they'll tell you 9 to 12 months later, the tobacco is ready to be used to roll or to age. You've been to plenty of factories. You've seen this done, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now we go back in the magical school bus, and I take you to AGANORSA, and we take you to the fermentation room, and you see the same polons, you see the same little covering, you see the same thermometer and the same chart. But if I show you on the chart, our polons only get to about 112 to 115 degrees. So, 15 to 20 degrees less than the others. And then right at that time, it's very important. That's when we take the polon, the bunches, we air it, and then we reconstruct the polon next door. We never add water to it. And the reason we don't add any water to it is the reason why the center of the polon never gets as high as the others. Now, don't take my word for that. You've been to the factories. In the beginning of the day, those buckets of water are crystal clear. At the end of the day, people think it's buckets of coffee. I mean, it's really dark. When you guys are out there smoking cigars and listening to podcasts or doing whatever you're doing, the flavors you're getting are from the oils on the leaves. That dark water is full of oils that you'll never smoke. All right, let's make it even more personable. All right. We all take showers every day. I take a shower every other day, maybe, so whatever. And when I travel, it doesn't matter. Take a shower. What happens in the shower? No, Peter, I don't want to know what happens in your shower. But in my shower, I'm washing off the oils and the smells off my skin. That's the reason why water is the enemy to oil, to the leaves, because every time you add water to the leaves, you have a chance of the oils and the water to mix and then evaporate. Or when they shake it, it can go out. And second of all, when the polons get hotter, you have a second chance of some of those oils, some of those flavors to get burnt off. So all that's oils, those flavors you're not tasting. That's why our fermentation process is no less than 2 years, because we allow the time. It's still 4 to 6 weeks every time we change it. And we got crews that do it all the time. They change it. But yeah, 2 years of fermentation, no water. So when it comes to flavor on a cigar with AGANORSA tobacco, it's always medium plus flavor, because we've never done anything to rob the oils off the leaves.
And that's what we experienced yesterday. And we had so many feedbacks. And when I first was smoking my AGANORSA cigars, I always experienced that it burns much slower than most of the other brands. And that's what you explained, that it's because of the fermentation process, that it contains more elements than other cigars might contain, and it's because not using the water. Going back a little bit to the Cuban cigars, whenever we still have many Cuban cigar smokers in Europe, and whenever they tell me that Cuban cigars are the cigars, I always tell them, or trying to tell them, that that reputation was gained for the Cuban cigars was long time ago. And the same case with Arsenio. He gained a lot of experience in Cuba. He made the Cuban cigar production gaining that reputation, but he already left that country many years ago and making those cigars in Nicaragua, or some of them in the Dominican Republic, some of them in Honduras, and making those cigar countries gaining the same reputation, but they are not really there in Cuba anymore. And I couldn't name many famous Cuban blenders or Cuban rollers who are still there in Cuba.
Yeah, no.
So that reputation is kind of was a long time ago that made the Cuban cigar production.
For many years, all there was here to smoke was Cuban cigars. Yes, there was those dry cured cigars from Holland and some other, here and there, but the majority of the cigars were Cuban, because Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, and Honduras were building up their manufacturing. They're building up making cigars, and they're focusing on the number one country, which is for sales, which is the U.S. This is a little crazy. I don't have the numbers for 2024, but in 2023, the U.S., they say, smoked 50 million cigars less than all the other countries combined. So one country compared to the rest of the world, okay, smoked only 50 million cigars less. So when they say the American market is the number one market, it's a very, very important market. Now, China is up and coming. I mean, China, you have 1.8 billion people, so it's just a matter of, okay, once they start smoking, it's going to go up, but it's still very, very new as far as cigars in China. They're really big cigarette smokers. Going back real quick to Arsenio. Unfortunately, Arsenio passed away a couple years ago, but his last 23 years he worked for us, and every picture you see of him, he's always smoking a cigar, and everyone always used to ask him, "Hey, what are you smoking? What are you smoking?" And he's like, "I'm smoking a cigar I made for myself." Okay, all right. He passed away. 6 months later, they're cleaning up some of the offices, and they literally find a notebook with Arsenio's, all his notes and all his stuff, and they're like reading it. They're like, "Oh wow, this is like the Bible of tobacco fermentation and blending and this and that, whatever." And in one of the last pages, written in pencil, was the recipe for the cigar that he was smoking all the time. And we looked and we're, oh, well, we have this tobacco. Let's make this blend. And then last year in 2024, that's when we released Arsenio, which is literally the blend that Arsenio has been smoking many, many years. So it comes in a Robusto, it comes in a Toro, and the third size, we call it Corona, but it's more of a Lonsdale. That size was the size that Arsenio smoked all the time. So, a lot of people say, "Oh, this is a very Cubanesque cigar." Well, this is a cigar that a Cuban smoked. Okay. It's not Cubanesque. It's a cigar that a Cuban made and smoked and enjoyed. So you could say it's kind of a Cubanesque, or it's Nicaragua's answer to the intricacies of a Cuban-esque cigar. But plenty of Cubans that are working at our factory who have their hands and they know everybody and whatnot, they enjoy what we're creating, what we're making. So that's one of the things. So if you are a Cuban cigar smoker, and there's plenty of you out there, and you're watching this video, don't hesitate. You come to the stores, you look for in Arsenio, and these are going to be available very, very soon in Hungary, right? All 3 sizes, or you have 2 sizes?
We have this size so far.
Okay, so you have the Toro size.
I already have noted that I will need the Lonsdale size too. So.
Okay, so first it's going to be the Toro, and then the Lonsdale is going to come. But I would say next time you go into your cigar store and you grab your handful of Cubans, grab one of these and see what this is about. And who knows, maybe you will be surprised.
And mentioning the US market, there's something that I always say that when I'm trying to build up a distribution strategy here in Hungary, that US market got so big because there were so many reasonable priced and great cigars over there. So people who had a lower budget could also find very good cigars all around the US. And it's a key thing because you can only build up a very small cigar market with luxury priced cigars only. It's such a small market, but when you want to grow big, you need very good cigars with a reasonable price. And am I right about this?
Listen, the cigar is the great equalizer. You go into any store in the US, it's a little harder internationally because in a lot of countries you can't even smoke in cigar stores. But if you find a cigar lounge, you go to any cigar lounge in the US and you'll see between 2 and 100 people smoking cigars, depending on how many seats there are. And you look around, and if you were to ask everyone what their job is, it would be very hard to find 2 or 3 that have the same job. You could have a teacher right next to a cop, right next to a doctor, right next to a dentist, right next to a lawyer, and the local bum is also smoking a cigar. And what are they doing? They're all smoking dried up leaves, and they're all trying to solve the problems that our politicians can't solve, right? So they have a great equalizer. They have great conversations, and that's what it is. Now, I will say, because when I was at Drew Estate, one of the last things I did the last 5 years is I started opening up international markets for them. And when I traveled, and this was 2014 to 2019, I saw cigars internationally in Europe is more of like the upper class, but it's directly correlated to the price of the cigars that are being sold. And now I come back, 10 years later, 9 years later, and I'm seeing a younger generation, the next class of people, because there's Dominican, Nicaraguan, Honduran cigars who are, I don't want to say cheaper, but they're lesser than your Cubans. And sometimes, you should never judge a book by its cover. You smoke the cigar. If you buy a cigar and it's €5 and you really enjoy it, you're very happy. Just like if you spend €25 on a cigar and you don't like it, you wish you would have bought 5 of those €5. So the price never really says that it's a much better cigar. At AGANORSA, the only difference in pricing for us, and this is important, is the amount of aging. Okay, so we have cigars that are aged. The tobacco is aged 1 to 2 years, all the way up to cigars that are aged 7 to 8 years. And again, that's after 2 years of fermentation. The old Cubans, they said fermentation is one process, aging is another process. There are some manufacturers out there that consider day 1 of fermentation is also day 1 of aging. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying they're wrong. I'm not saying they're right, but I'm not saying, I'm not saying they're right, but I'm also not saying what they're wrong. We do it our way. They want to do it their way. But yeah, so for instance, the JFRs and the new Cubas in our Aganorsa line, that's 1 to 2 years of age. Plus the 2-year fermentation, that tobacco was in the fields 3 to 4 years ago. All the way up to the Aniversario line, which we have Connecticut, Maduro, and Corojo, that's 7 to 8 years. Plus that 2 years, you grab yourself an Aniversario, that tobacco was probably in the fields 9 to 10 years ago. You want to know what aging does? Aging in the ideal conditions, humidity, nice temperature, aging in that, go grab yourself a Aniversario. And if I'm not wrong, it's lesser expensive than most Cubans.
Yes, of course, like 10 times less expensive. Yeah, so it's not the amount you spend on the fancy boxes, which directly correlates with the price of price of your cigars. But we got to be smart about it, because yesterday we had 3 cigars, and the very first cigar was a $3.5 cigar, and I was sure that we gotta give it to the people first, because if I would say the price before, then they would probably not be smoking it and they wouldn't take it from the shelf. And we only set the price after they started trying it. And this was happened here many times, that they don't take cheaper, less expensive cigars from the shelves because they think that those are bad cigars. And I think that is the kind of mindset of the classic cigar smokers. But in order to grow the European cigar market, we need a new mindset. And part of that new mindset is that if a cigar is less expensive, it doesn't mean anymore that it's a bad cigar. You can grab very nice cigars for $3.5. That's what made the US market big. And that's what's going to help boosting the European market also.
Yeah, listen, if you spend 20 euros, $20, you could buy one cigar, or you could buy 4 or 5 cigars, and maybe you're going to have a lot better time smoking those 4 or 5 cigars than you are going to smoke that one cigar. So it really, you don't really necessarily look at the price for the bang. The other important thing that people, they may or may not know, is when you go into a cigar store and you want to buy cigars, or else why would you go to a cigar store? But you go to a cigar store, you want to buy cigars. People will look and they buy cigars, but they never think about how much time they have to smoke a cigar. You always want to be conscious of how much time you have to smoke a cigar. And what do I mean by that? Because your Coronas and your Robustos, that's half hour, 45-minute cigar smoking. Your Toros, that's an hour and a half cigar smoking time. You never want to smoke a Toro in half hour, because you're just going to be smoking it a lot faster. You're going to burn the top of your tongue. You're going to burn all your taste buds. And if you go eat, or you're going to drink your favorite liquor or beverage afterwards, you're not going to taste anything, because it's all going to be charcoal. So when you're buying your cigars, make sure you buy cigars for the amount of time that you have. If you have plenty of time, that's when you get the big Churchills or the 6x60s or the bigger ones. But yeah, if you only have a little bit of time, don't buy the big cigars, because you can put it down and then, come back later the next day and then relight it and whatever. But every time you relight the cigar, you do tend to lose a little bit of the flavor, because there's a burst of high heat. And also, I suggest every time you relight your cigar, you first blow out a couple times before you light it up, because there are little pieces of burnt tobacco that get pushed in, and then all of a sudden you're gonna take a big draw. You might swallow one of those little pieces. You're not gonna die. It's not gonna whatever, but they may not necessarily taste good. So I always blow out a couple times, purging a cigar before I relight it, if I relight it.
Yes, I know that too. And that's pretty useful for everybody who's watching this episode. We have 2 more topics for today.
Okay. All right.
The very first topic is that we've talked about the past of European cigar market, the classic cigars. And what a coincidence that in our last podcast we were talking about the infused cigars, and the very next episode we have someone who's basically played a key role making infused cigars famous and making infused cigars number one cigars in the U.S. market. And we've been discussing that we should be a lot more open to infused cigars because they will bring more people to the market who will later on might try classical non-infused cigars too. And I'm very curious about your opinion. How did you start dealing with infused cigars, and what do you think about that market?
Well, so I'm a kind of a weird person because I've been in the industry since 2000. But before I was in the industry, I had smoked one cigar in my life, and it was 3 days before I got into the industry. So I didn't have any preconceived notion, right? So now, with all the people I've talked to, everywhere I've done, all the events and all that, I still get a lot of people. Oh, the infused cigars are not real cigars. The flavored cigars, those are baby cigars. Those are women cigars. Actually, there's some women that smoke very, very strong cigars. I know a lot of couples where the woman smokes stronger cigars than the husband. So yeah. But flavored and infused cigars is very crucial to the market. And as the individual cigar smoker may look down upon that, he doesn't understand that eventually that guy's going to die. And for the industry to continue, we need to create new cigar smokers. So this is what I witnessed, and I was part of it because being at Drew Estate, when I first started at Drew Estate, all we had was the acid cigars, and then we launched the natural cigars, which are acid is probably the most non-traditional cigar in the industry. You smoke it, first of all, you get hit with sweetness. There's plenty of sweetness on the cap. And then when you're smoking it, you don't taste any tobacco. It's botanical herbal oils that's infused and whatnot, but you don't taste any tobacco. Why is this important? All right. So before the year 2000, let's say someone wanted to start smoking cigars, and they would go into a local cigar store, and the cigar store owner would give them a very mild cigar, maybe a Dominican or maybe a Honduran, not necessarily a Nicaraguan, but Dominican, maybe a Romeo and Julieta Dominican, if you had a little more money, a Davidoff, you had Fonseca, some of those, a Macanudo, a very, very mild cigar, and the guy would smoke, and he would go, okay, so this is what tobacco tastes like. Yeah, I don't like it. Or, yeah, okay, all right, that's interesting. Okay, let me continue. All right. After 2000, when you start getting all these flavored cigars and infused cigars, which in concept are completely different, people put them in the same category, but they're completely different. And I can tell you what the difference is after this. But you give someone who wants to try a cigar, who wants to be cool, part of the cool kids, and the cigar has a sweet tip. When we grew up and we ate, we understand what sweet is, what sour, what bitter, what salty. We never tasted what tobacco tasted like. I mean, I don't know about you, Peter, but you went to kindergarten in a tobacco factory, so I don't know, maybe you had a little bit of tobacco and whatnot. But I never tasted tobacco. I never ate tobacco, so I didn't know what tobacco tasted like. But I got a sweet cigar, and I'm like, oh man, all right, this is good. I'm not going to have any calories, and I'm going to get my sweetness. I'm good. And I was smoking those sweet cigars. So going around to the stores, the old timers never understood that. And you go around to any, and this is in the US, and maybe it's true in Europe, and I think it's true in Europe, but in every big city, there's that one store that is like the leader of all the stores. And then there's like secondary stores all over the place. So of course, a new brand comes, you want to try it at the flagship, the number one store. But that one number one store is usually owned by a guy who's been in the tobacco industry for 10, 15, 20 years, and he knows everything, and he doesn't like being told what to do. And when he opens up the cigar box and he smells the cigar, he's like, "Get those cigars out of here. They're smelly. They're not cigars. They're candy, whatever." He doesn't understand the concept. Then what we did is we went to the secondary stores who were looking for something to separate themselves. And then that's how Drew Estate grew, is we sold to all those secondary stores. And then those secondary stores 10 years later became the leaders in those towns, in those cities. So that's the whole concept. So as I was going around and I was doing events, yes, I was trying to sell my infused cigars to people, but people who've been smoking cigars for 2, 3, 8, 20 years, they'll take one and they'll go, yeah, it's not for me. Majority of them won't even take one. But I was looking for the people who wanted to come into the business. All you guys out there that are smoking cigars, you all have friends that don't really smoke cigars, but they want to be as cool as you. And if you want to bring them into your coolness and your cool group, I suggest you go to a store and you get a couple of those sweet cigars. And as you light up your AGANORSA or whatever, your Cuban, and then your buddy over here, he wants to be just like you, don't give him a Cuban, give him the sweet cigar. He's going to enjoy that cigar while you enjoy that cigar, and then you can have a good conversation. And what you're doing is you're building new cigar smokers. People who smoke sweet cigars, heck, I smoked sweet cigars for 15 years, but I'm kind of an oddity. Most people smoke sweet cigars for a couple months, a year, 2 years, and then eventually they really like smoking cigars and they'll venture out into traditional cigars. And that's what I did. I was probably I kid around, the pipe piper playing the flute, and then all the little mice or the rats, they all left and whatnot. I was the pipe piper. I was looking for all the people who wanted to smoke but didn't know what to smoke and didn't know tobacco. They all came to me and, oh, this guy's a pretty cool guy. Oh, this cigar, oh, sweet. It's a sweet cigar. Oh, this one tastes like a chocolate bar. Oh, okay, all right. So they enjoyed it. That's also looked upon as a negative aspect. And it's looked upon as a negative aspect by a lot of the governments, because a lot of the governments think that we are going after kids with sweet cigars. I've never seen an ad that is aimed for kids, the younger generations. All our cigars are for, here in Hungary, it's 18 and above. Other countries, it's 21 and above. All our cigars are in there. You compare that to vapes. I mean, you walk down the street in any city in the US, you see a 12-year-old vaping. I mean, everyone wants their watermelon strawberry flavor, their bubble gum, their gummy bears, their colas, flavors you don't get in tobacco. You can get sweetness, but sweetness is just sweetness. Those vape companies are going towards that. And unfortunately, in the US and in some other European countries, vaping puts a bad connotation on cigars. Just like some countries think smoking cigarettes and smoking cigars are completely the same. It couldn't be furthest from the truth. There's no additives to these cigars. Yeah. It's 100% tobacco. There's no additives. Cigarettes, half of them don't even have any tobacco, and it's 257 additives to whatever you're smoking.
We got to add that it's still not healthy and it still includes nicotine, but yes, it's so far away, these two categories from each other. And actually the vapes, they don't have to refuel it anymore.
No, yeah.
You can use it for many days and keep smoking that. And with a cigar, it's totally different. You smoke a cigar and after you stop smoking that for a couple of days or hours or whatever. And for me, it's very important to say that I don't get addicted to smoking cigars. So when I don't smoke a cigar for 2 weeks, that doesn't happen too many times. But if I don't smoke it, I don't feel anything that I'm starving to smoke another cigar. And that's very nice that all the competitors were also grateful to you because
yes.
all the job that you were doing were expanding the cigar market and bringing more and more people in.
Very early on, Drew Estate did not have a traditional cigar. So we were I was going around creating new cigar smokers, and eventually all those cigar smokers would then end up smoking other cigars. The Nick Perdomos, the Carlito Fuentes, the Jorge Padrones, the Rocky Patels, yes, they traveled and they did events, but they never went out and looked to create new cigar smokers. What they did is they were in a room of cigar smokers and they tried to get those cigar smokers to smoke their cigars. I was going out looking to add to people to the room to cigar smoking. And it wasn't until 2008 when Liga Privada came out, and then shortly after Undercrown, that Drew Estate had traditional cigars. So the first year, many years, Drew Estate was not regarded as a competitor, just as, oh, it's the crazy guys. They don't know what they're doing. They'll never make it and whatnot. Oh, they're creating new cigar smokers? Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll let them into the PCA and RTDA show at the time, and yeah, okay, they're cool. They're fun to party. But yeah, they're no harm to us. Some of those guys that I mentioned, some of those company heads, they all loved me. Because when they were going around to cigar stores, they're going, try my new cigar. And they try, oh, you like my new cigar? Okay, all right. What was your first ever cigar that you smoked? Oh, I smoked an acid. Guy smoked an acid for 6 months, and then now he's smoking a Perdomo, or he's smoking a Fuente, or whatever. So they're realizing, and then they're seeing me all over the place, bringing in new people. So they're all very helpful and whatnot. I mean, this is still a very small industry. It looks very, very big on the outside, but it's still very, very small. If you look at the tobacco pyramid, the tobacco pyramid is set up in a way where on the base of the pyramid are all the cigar smokers. Then above that are all the retailers and the distributors. Okay. Above that are the brands. And then above the brands are the manufacturers. And above the manufacturers are the farmers. We're lucky because we're fully vertical, because we have from the farm to all the way. But the majority of the brands don't even have their own factory, yet alone their own farms. So that's something to look at. If your favorite cigar, you do a little research, maybe your favorite cigar is just a private line made in another factory. Great marketing, great box, you enjoy it. Hey, by all means, keep smoking that cigar. But if you find out which factory makes that cigar, most likely it just opens up a whole new range of brands that you may enjoy, because that factory makes other brands, and that factory uses the same tobacco for some other brands. And then on top of that, oh wow, that factory buys their tobacco from this. Oh well, let me try some other brands that have this tobacco, and that's where you get the different flavors. And one last point before I forget, the difference between cigarette smokers and cigar smokers. We smoke a cigar because we want to. Cigarette smokers, they smoke cigarettes because they have to. And that's the difference. And that's what it goes when you say, oh, for 2 weeks, if I don't smoke a cigar, I'm okay, right? A cigarette smoker would be like scratching or in the corner, like not knowing, like a zombie, because they would know what to do. But that's the main difference. We enjoy the lifestyle, the relaxation of the cigars. Yes, there's nicotine, but the natural form of nicotine. It's the same nicotine as if you eat tomatoes. Tomatoes, there's nicotine. If you eat a lot of pasta with pomodoro sauce or whatever, tomato sauce, you have the same amount of chance of getting the same amount of nicotine as you are smoking a cigar, but it's natural nicotine. The thing that gets you is the fake, the additive nicotines and all that they add to the cigarettes that make you want to smoke more.
And to sum up, last year at Intertabac, there were like 50 new brands, cigar brands, who had a booth, and they had no farm and they had no factory. So there are a lot of new brands coming up, but we got to find the future of cigar making and the future of the European cigar market. And it might be something unique and might not be making classical cigars like they've always been doing, or trying to find new ways, new methods, like infused cigars might be a great options for that. And the very last topic for today's podcast.
Before you ask that topic, you know how to make $1 million in the tobacco industry? You start with 2. Because the first $1 million you're going to lose and you're going to spend it. So that's how you make $1 million in the tobacco industry. So yeah, so good luck to all those brands that show up to the trade shows and all that. Hopefully you've already thrown away that first $1 million and you're ready to make your first $1 million. So yeah.
Right. I heard a very unique story from you that even before you started working in the cigar industry, you've got close to one of the very famous Hall of Fame cigar makers of all the time. And I would like to end today's podcast with this story because I think it's a very unique story and I've never heard the.
Okay.
It was the first time hearing it.
I know what you're talking about. All right. All you guys out there, probably one of the brands that is really, really well known is Davidoff. Davidoff of Geneva. Okay. I was actually born in Switzerland. I was born in Zurich and moved to Geneva when I was 0 or 2 days old. Lived in Geneva, and for my first 9 years, I lived in Geneva. So for this part of the story, je vais faire ça en français parce que c'est comme ça. Alors j'espère que tout le monde connaît le français et comprend le français. No? You don't understand French?
I can speak Chinese, but I can't
okay, so I should continue in English. Not the French portion of the story. Okay, all right. So ever so long, I remember when I was 2, 3, and 4. Sorry, 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, and 5. My dad used to travel a lot. And we had a deal, and the deal was that one Saturday a month we would go. We lived right on the outside of Geneva. We would take the bus to the center of Geneva, and he would take me to the 3-story toy store, FAO Schwartz, Weber, FAO Schwartz, and right next to FAO Schwartz, there was the original Davidoff of Geneva store. Okay. So the agreement we had was we would go to the toy store. He would buy me the toy, and then we would go to the cigar store, and my dad would buy his toy, which was a box of cigars. He would take a cigar and he would smoke a cigar with Zino Davidoff, the founder of Davidoff, and whoever else was there. There's 3 seats there and whatnot. And I would just sit in the corner as 3, 4, 5-year-old and play with my toy. And at the end, if my dad, when he finished, if I was nice and I didn't make too much noise, Zeno would then take me around outside to buy me an ice cream. All right, cool. Which kid doesn't like ice cream? Okay, all right. Here's the problem though. Zeno's favorite ice cream flavor is pistachio. So he buys himself a pistachio ice cream. And he doesn't ask me what flavor I want. He gives me a pistachio ice cream. So for 3 years, once a month, I was forced to eat a pistachio ice cream. By the way, I don't like pistachio. I was mad every single time because all I wanted was a chocolate ice cream. And my dad would say, eat it. You got ice cream. You should be happy you got ice cream. But Dad, all I wanted was chocolate. You're not getting chocolate. He gives you pistachio. You're going to eat pistachio. So it's a funny little story. But way back then, the thing that I still remember is how well dressed Zeno was, always in a suit or a cardigan or a tie. And no matter what he was doing or in the middle of any sentence, if someone came into the store, he would stop and say hello. How may I help you? To every single person. The customer service, the gentleness. I mean, this guy was like the best. And I didn't know anything about retail when I was 3 or 4, but it just shocked me and whatnot. Now, if someone would have told me at 5 years old, hey, you're going to be in the tobacco by the time you turn 52, you're going to be in the cigar industry for 25 years, I'll be like, yeah, okay, or whatever. Hell, someone would have told me I would have lived in the US for 40 years. I would have said, yeah, okay, whatever. What are you talking about? Because I didn't go into the US until I was 9. But yeah, I mean, so not too many people, now I guess more people know, but Zeno Davidoff's favorite ice cream flavor is pistachio. So the next time you eat pistachio ice cream, think about the little 4-year-old that was complaining he didn't get chocolate, but also think, oh, you're enjoying a flavor that one of the greats, another gentleman who should be on the Mount Rushmore of tobacco.
Yeah, and even if you didn't like pistachio, you could have it together with Zeno Davidoff, which in the long term makes it a much more unique experience. All right. Thank you, Fabien, for today's podcast. Thank you for coming to Hungary in the past couple of days. I learned a lot from you, and I'm very happy that you could finally make it here. And it's been a very unique experience for me. And I'm glad that you can make it.
Peter, thank you for the invitation. This is not the last trip. I'm already thinking about next time I'm coming. All you guys out there, keep smoking cigars, try cigars. Hopefully, try an Aganorsa. Hopefully, you like Aganorsa, smoke Aganorsas. Take lots of pictures. We have our Aganorsa Flex. That is our symbol, because our motto is our leaf is our strength. So flex, validate, enjoy Aganorsas, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the next event somewhere, a smoking club, anywhere you are. You want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook? Follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Follow Peter. Come to Peter's store, the Opera House Cigars, and get your Aganorsas. So thank you very much, Peter. Until next time.
Yes, until next time. Thank you for watching. If you like this type of content, subscribe to our Opera Cigar YouTube channel. See you next time.
Opera Cigars.